Hey folks, I'm Keith Ford. We're here live at SHOT Show 2018, right here at the Brownells booth, and today we're talking suppressors with my good buddy Alexander Crown from Gemtech.
That's right.
Dude, what's going on?
Not much. I'm happy to be here. Thanks to Brownells for hosting us. It's great. I'm excited about these guys going on.
Dude.
That retro line is looking pretty awesome.
Dude, that's awesome.
But yeah, happy to be here. You know, SHOT's a fun event for us. So, you know, we're going to talk about suppressors, obviously, a couple of accessories, a little bit of update on what's going on with Gemtech, because I know you're curious, and I might as well take advantage of a camera. So, you know, there's that. But yeah, so, you know, as most of you know, Gemtech was acquired by Smith & Wesson. We're part of the firearms division of Smith & Wesson now. And what that means is that we have a lot of new opportunities. And so one of the exciting things that we've been talking about at the show today is the Aurora II. So the Aurora II, this is an inert unit, you know, for safety's sake. They don't trust me with the good stuff anymore, but the inert unit being that it's a dummy can. So the Aurora II, though, what's exciting about it is that it's the first suppressor that is being manufactured in Springfield by Smith & Wesson. It still says Gemtech on it. It still has a Gemtech logo. It just says Springfield on it. But that's really exciting for us because it's showing some new manufacturing capabilities. And I got the word this morning, actually, that those should be getting ready to start transfer to wholesalers and dealers.
Yeah,
so we're real excited.
Yeah, because that's bringing manufacturing in-house to Gemtech now.
Right, pretty much. And I mean, I don't know how much you know about the history on that suppressor. Originally, it was developed for downed pilots to go in their E&E kits, you know, their escape and evasion kits. So if they got shot down or what have you, they would, would hide and wait to be rescued, and they'd have this with a Glock 26, and that way, if they were compromised, they'd be able to safely dispatch someone and keep it quiet without bringing more attention to themselves. And so, you know, we've released them over the years, and now we're doing a very big batch with an update to where the ends are both threaded. So it's a dual thread suppressor. One side is metric 13.5x1 for, weird guns, I guess. And then half 28 is for, M&Ps and Glocks and things like that. So it's a white-based suppressor, as I know all about it. Of course he does, right? It's Keith Ford. But, it's a white-based suppressor, so it's actually made up of urethane discs. And it's a limited use, so you get about 30 to 40 rounds out of it, and then you have to repack it. There's spacers inside, and you use straight off-the-shelf petroleum jelly. You're familiar
don't
with
use
it.
lithium.
Yeah, that's right. Don't use lithium. It's going to smell really bad. You don't want to use anything that's going to ignite. It's nothing like that. But and then it gets repacked. You can send it back to Gemtech to get repacked, or you can actually make the wipes yourself, just not in surplus because they're considered a silencer part according to ATF.
No-no.
That is a big no-no. That's New Bracelets logo. So, but yeah, that's the Aurora II. So
now, on the original Aurora, it didn't have the
correct,
hex
it didn't have the hexes there. It was only threaded on one end. It had some knurling on it, so you could take it apart. But that's an update to make it easier. So the production units will have a solid end. It's all 70-75 aluminum.
Sweet.
It'll be Type 3 hardcoat anodized, I believe. It's a solid end, and then the other end, you use this wrench to unscrew it. This can also be used to put it onto a barrel in case you're worried about it coming off. So,
Dude, I've got to get out there and shoot one of these.
You do.
This
I should just send you one. Transfer it right to Brownells. It's great. It's a demo unit.
Yeah. But what else is new? I mean,
man, let's see. Yeah, we got the Lunar. The Lunars are shipping. They're in stock. It's Gemtech's modular 45 suppressor. So, this portion up here is called the Lunar module. You see what we did there? That was the bright mind of Derek Smith. So I'll give him some credit.
I know about bright mind.
It's a creative mind.
Derek's one of our buddies. I give him
Derek's
stuff all the time. He's a super good guy.
So the Lunar, it's a very lightweight, 70-75 aluminum suppressor, and the baffles are 70-75 aluminum, except for the blast baffle, that's actually titanium. They're all nickel boron coated, so they're very easy to clean. The suppressor just comes apart. You take the module off the K baffles. You're familiar with K baffles, of course. Uses all of our old black side and GM45 adapters, so very adaptable. This one's got a half 28 piston in it, which is 9mm of course, but 45, 40, 10 mil, 357 SIG rated, 300 blackout subsonic. We have a line of submachine gun adapters, full auto rated of course. Excellent sound reduction. So
sweet.
Yeah,
crazy.
that one's that's a good can. It's probably the best pistol suppressor Gemtech's ever made.
Cool.
You know, which is kind of the point, right?
Yeah.
Keep making better products.
Yep. Keep on going, man.
You know, the other thing to talk about is a really cool accessory. We call it the 22 QDA.
That's neat.
Yeah, it stands for Quick Detach Adapter. And what it is, it's a universal adapter for rimfire suppressors. So this portion here is threaded half 28, very common. 99.9% of rimfire suppressors thread half 28. So you thread this into your suppressor. Doesn't matter what make it is. And then this portion is the male quad lug mount. I don't know how well you can see that. There's 4 lugs on it though. Take my word for it. And you put it on any half 28 threaded barrel. So, you know, pistol, rifle, doesn't matter. And that essentially turns this into a quick detach system.
Yep.
One of the reasons this was developed was for lever actions. So, you know, lever actions you load from the front, you know, some of them, and you have that rod that comes out. Well, a suppressor on the end of it blocks that. But if you time this correctly, you'll be able to get it in and out, no problem. And so, you know, a lot of us like to shoot suppressed lever guns because it's very, very quiet.
Even
it's a lot of fun.
Even the Marlin 60s, those are cute.
Absolutely.
I mean, they sound good suppressed.
Yeah.
And I've got a couple of those. They work super good.
Right.
I mean, they're awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's
on and off.
It's on and off. If you got a lot of different platforms, you know, 22 pistols, 22 rifles, things like that, it's a really good option for you. So, yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
What else you want to talk about, man?
Right.
You want to talk about, I don't know, we should come up with a line of retro cans.
Retro cans.
That's
that
what we
would
should
be
do.
Awesome right there.
I don't know, you know.
You've seen our retro AR-10s
Absolutely.
now, the BRN-10s.
I'm all about it.
Yeah.
So when are you going to come out with a retro grease gun that we can internally suppress? I mean, that's on the docket, right? Like, I assume.
I
Can't
cannot
confirm or deny. Yeah, of course.
confirm nor deny. Yes.
I play that game too.
Now, on this Aurora.
Yeah.
Now, talk about cleaning these.
Sure.
Do you clean these, or
Yeah.
is this just a?
It is. So it's a cleanable suppressor in that when, you know, as you shoot it and the wipes wear out, that's what happens. The wipes are just a 1-inch circle that's maybe a quarter, no, not a quarter inch, maybe 1/8 of an inch thick, and it has an X cut into it, so it has something to flex with. Well, that X basically just gets blown out over time. So you throw those away, and then the spacers, they'll get carbon on them, and you will want to clean them up. They're just aluminum, and so you just hit them with some CLP and a brush, get the carbon off, and then you're going to re-lubricate it. So you're going to want to clean your pistol quite a bit after shooting this because this is of what it is. There's a lot of pressure, so some of the lubricant, the petroleum jelly, comes back into your gun. And I mean, it's not going to hurt your gun, but you know, you're not going to want to leave it there either. So you clean that up, wipe it down. You should clean your gun anyways, you know, on occasion. But that's how you would clean that, as compared to something like the Lunar. You know, have a nickel boron coating on the baffles. If you keep up with it, you can just wipe them clean. If you go a long time or you're hitting it real hard with a sub gun, you know, it's something you can get a little more aggressive with, especially the titanium blast baffle, but you don't want to hurt that coating. So what I normally recommend is, you know, standard CLP. I love CLP. I mean,
it's good stuff.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
It
It's been
works
around
on
a long
everything.
time. So, you know, CLPs and just a brush. Use a stiff bristled cleaning brush. I'm sure Brownells has a selection of them.
Good selection.
You know, but I wouldn't recommend using a brass brush or, you know, a stainless brush or anything like that, because you're really going to damage that coating. Yeah. So I mean, that's how I would do it. The other really important thing on these is I'm going to take apart your unit here. So this piston system, it's called a Nielsen device for those that don't know, or a Gemtech refers to it as a linear inertial decoupler. Or a lid for short. It's a lot easier, and it's a system of a spring and a piston and the closer. But what that does is it relieves the weight of the suppressor off of a tilt-up barrel. So like on a 1911, you don't really need this, or on a Beretta 92, you know, or I guess M9. Same. You don't need this. High powers also. You won't need that, but on an M&P or a USP, a Glock, you will need this system. And so when it comes to maintenance, this one's brand new. It's very clean. But what you'll find is there's going to be a lot of buildup. I've got a handy pointing device here. There's going to be a lot of buildup in this area on the face, and along with these grooves. And over time, it'll bring your tolerances out of whack, and it can actually kind of get stuck inside your suppressor. So you just want to pull it out. And this is steel, so you can get pretty aggressive with this. You can use a brass brush, soak it in some CLP, just get in there. And same with the spring. This spring has been shot. You can tell because it's got some funk on it. So I mean, again, it's a steel spring. you're going to want to just hit that with your CLP and your brass brush. And make sure that's good and clean, because it'll start messing with tolerances, things like that, and then drop it back in. After you're done doing that, this is important. This is a moving part. You want to re-lubricate it. From the factory, we use a white lithium grease. We just use like an acid brush, a little paintbrush, and paint it on there all the way around. You want to make sure this is metal on metal contact. You don't really need to do it so much on the grooves here or on the face. You just want to do it on that spring, because that's what's compressing. And those vents that you can kind of see in here, that's giving you a lot of gases inside, and it dries it out. So you want to lubricate that probably every, I'd almost say every 250 rounds, if you're hitting it real hard, but you won't need that on a sub gun, so it doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, metal on metal wear is pretty bad.
It's a thing, it's a thing to be aware of, especially, and people don't really think about it on suppressors as much, but you should. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Now,
same with this little guy. That's the same kind of maintenance procedure on there. You want to keep these mounting surfaces clean. Rimfire's nasty. It gets dirty. We encourage you to clean a rimfire suppressor. You should clean your rimfire mount as well.
Cool. Now, what about rifle cans?
Yeah.
Dude, don't clean them.
Don't clean them. No, don't clean a rifle can. When you've got, most rifle cans are sealed units for a reason.
Yep.
We don't want you to take them apart. We don't want you to take them apart. We don't want you to clean it.
No.
Yeah,
just don't do it.
Yeah, just no. But if you have one that's permanently attached to a barrel, how do I clean it? Or you don't want to take it off. You got a grade 0 on the rifle. You don't. What we tell people to do is don't use like the rods. A 3-piece rod with a patch on it. That patch is going to get lost inside your silencer. It's not going to destroy the silencer, but it's not something you want in there either. So, a flexible bore snake style, something like that. If you need to put CLP on it or a bore solvent or something, I probably wouldn't use a bore solvent with a suppressor.
No,
but if you had to put CLP on there, make sure you dry it out real well. I'd encourage you to use like a compressed air. You got an air compressor, just hit that. Dry it out real well. You don't want, in rifle suppressors, you don't want any liquid. What can happen is, if you think about it, as a suppressor sits on a gun, so the water or whatever the liquid is will pool up on the bottom, and when the gases come in, it causes an irregular pressure spike, and that can actually be detrimental to the lifespan of your suppressor. So
liquid doesn't compress.
Correct.
Once the gases hit it, it's just going to blow out.
Exactly.
The high pressure for rifle now. Pistols you can shoot wet.
Definitely.
It helps sound. that first sound.
Oh, it does. First round pop. So for those that don't know, first round pop is what happens on your initial round when shooting a suppressor. It's more noticeable on some than others, but it's the oxygen inside of the suppressor igniting with the blast of the gun. It's burning off, so it's a little bit louder, and it can vary how much louder it is based on a lot of different factors, volume and things like that. But it's something to be aware of, and to negate that, in the old school retro days, when they had hush puppies and things, they would actually blow nitrogen in there, and then they would seal it with a postage stamp. So they, lick a postage stamp, put it on the end of your gun, and then you can walk around with it without oxygen getting back in there as quickly. And then when they shoot that first round, there's not as much first round pop. The other thing that what I normally do is just a teaspoon or so of water, just dump it right in there and kind of swirl it around. And what happens is when those gases come in, that water rapidly cools them without overpressuring the suppressor, because the 45 ACP and 9mm in comparison to something like 308, way less pressure, so it's safe. Definitely on rimfire. Rimfire, it's effective, but it is dirty. It makes the can almost dirtier. But on pistol, I highly recommend it. You can use, we call it wet, and it's not just water. You can use Dr. Pepper if you wanted to. It's going to be sticky, but
it smells kind of funky.
It probably is going to smell funky, but you can use petroleum jelly. Use it sparingly, maybe a pea or even an acorn size of it inside the suppressor. And if something like that, you kind of want to put it towards the front, towards that blast chamber. So if you were to take off the piston, the lid, like I showed you, you just take your finger and sort of rub it in there, and that'll do it. Lithium grease, I've done it. It does smell really bad.
It's really bad.
It's probably bad for me to breathe. Like that vaporized air. I would assume. Definitely in California.
Because it blows back on you.
It's nasty, and that's another important safety thing. When you're firing suppressors, especially pistol suppressors, you really, really, really should be cognizant of having eye protection.
Absolutely.
Because even a dry suppressor, you are increasing the amount of back pressure into the gun.
Yeah.
And it's right in your face. So just be aware of that. You know, safety first. Suppressors are a lot of fun. Losing an eye is not fun. You know, having something in your eye all day is not fun. So that's a good point. That's a good point,
cool.
Keith.
Now on silencers, blast baffle. I mean, what's the deal on a blast baffle? Is that kind of your? Is that? Oh, sorry for that interruption, folks.
All right,
We're all good. We're cool. Say hi to the folks. We're on Facebook Live right now.
Oh yeah,
All right. But the blast baffle. I mean, that takes the brunt of the force and everything.
And so what you'll find a lot of times, blast baffles will have what we call it the Dater hole.
Yep.
I mean, you know Dr. Dater.
Yes, sir.
Dr.
Love
Dater, of course.
Dr. Dater. He
kind of
is
a
so cool.
silencer legend.
He is the modern godfather.
He is, yeah, absolutely. And so Dr. Dater, what you'll see on a lot of Gemtech's blast baffles, a lot of blast baffles, all blast baffles, there'll be a hole. And what that is to help to relieve a little bit of that extra oomph that's coming along from, you know, the initial blast of the gun. And so that's why you'll see on our rifle suppressors, there's Inconel on the blast baffle to help negate some of the erosion from 5.56's really hot gases, hot volatile gases, and unburned powder and things like that. And a lot of our pistol cans, it's going to be titanium. Now on something like our G-Core, you know, you're familiar with our monocore system. You know, that is cut at an angle that it helps cut back on the erosion, but also absorb the blast. And so, but over time, you know, it works its way on the metal. So
because you don't want to damage the baffles in it. I mean, that's the main thing, and then that blast baffle is and you can get that replaced. I mean,
typically, I mean, you know, we've never really had to replace a blast baffle before. I mean, you know, we've had some machine gun silencers that go 200,000 rounds on, you know, Uzis and MP5s, like range guns and stuff. You know, they keep good round count. They send it into us. We'll section it in half, and it's basically filled with lead, but it still does an adequate amount of sound reduction. And 200,000 rounds, that's more than most people shoot in their whole life.
Lifetime,
So,
now you said Inconel.
Yeah.
What's Inconel?
Inconel is it's like it's a really dense metal. It's like a blend almost. You know, it's really hard for me to describe. It's
a tough alloy.
It is. It's very hard.
Yeah, so like stellite.
Yeah,
stellite,
it is. It's like it's exactly what it is. So but it's not what it is. It's similar to what it is. So yeah, we use that in our blast baffles on our rifle suppressors, on things like the Patrolman and the Shield, and the one that use an M baffle design. They have that sort of M conical baffle. On things like our Dagger, we use more of a snow fence baffle system that has Inconel in it, but that's more for spinning the gases to create turbulence as opposed to redirecting them.
Cool.
You know, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hand gestures and silencers.
Yeah.
So
now I saw y'all with working on silencer on 249.
Yeah.
Dude, tell me about that.
Yeah, so that is a project that we had worked on last year for 240. 240 Bravo. And we had some production units going, and that project right now is something that I won't really talk about.
Cool.
So, but
cool.
Yeah, that's a thing.
You're a need to know, and you don't need to know right now.
So yeah, I forgot you saw that suppressor.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's a pretty cool one.
Yeah.
So
give me the scoop behind Gemtech. How did Gemtech really get started?
Sure. Gemtech's roots really started with Dr. Dater. Dr. Dater, a phenomenal guy. He's like that. I mean, he's an actual doctor, for one. He's a real medical doctor. And so he started his career in the Air Force as a pediatrician, I believe, and he became a radiologist. And down in Arizona, he was working at a hospital, and he had some free time, and under the license of a friend, so it was legal, ATF, it's legal, they had a machine shop in the basement of this hospital. Yeah. I don't know if that's common or anything now. I have no idea, but he would go down there and he would tinker with suppressors and suppressor designs. And so he was taking guns like the Ruger Mark I and things like that and tweaking them and making them better. It's, the Dater hole and things. And so he started doing that. And he's a natural tinker. I mean, you can have a conversation with the guy about trains, classical music, jazz, blues, the metallurgy, physics, all kinds of great stuff. And so by doing that and experimenting, he started making better designs.
Yeah.
And that's what ultimately happens. And so he started doing it as a business. And he created, at the time it was AWC, Automatic Weapons Company, with some partners, and they were putting out some pretty good suppressors. You know, if you read up on some Paulson books and things like that, History Suppressors Volume 1 and 2, it's a good one. I highly recommend it. Or Suppressor Patents. That one's a little
I've
dry.
got all three
but
of those.
Yeah. That's if you like reading patents, that's a book to do it. Or if you really like silencers.
Yeah, for technical information, they're wonderful.
Oh, absolutely,
they
are.
And
it really shows you the development of it. But so yeah, Dr. Dater just kept experimenting, and he started Gemtech in 1993 in Boise, Idaho, and they were putting out product. And him and some other business partners just kept making better and better things. And you know, suppressors over time are becoming more mainstream, I guess, for lack of a better term. And you know, from 1993 until right there, that is a famous Gemtech person right there, walking by. Yeah, that's Mr. Kel Whalen. A pretty influential silence guy.
Yes. Behind the scenes.
That's
a lot.
fun.
Yeah.
That threw me off. This live stuff will get you, everybody. I tell you what.
We should have hollered at him. Hey!
That would have been awesome to bring him in. He's gone.
Oh,
Especially on this subject, right? But Kel Whalen got brought on to Gemtech many, many years ago, and really helped bring the company to the forefront by, I mean, he made the products more popular. He made them more mainstream in the sense of compatibility, you know, bringing them to more modern weapons, things like that. And so through that progression, Gemtech has just always been putting out products. And, you know, we went through some changes 5 or so years ago to boost us again. And then, you know, about a year and a half ago, we had another change that helped us raise the brand. And then, you know, of course, the most recent acquisition was Smith & Wesson that we talked about.
It just keeps bumping up each
time. It does.
Time.
It keeps going and going and going. I'm really excited to be a part of it.
That's crazy.
It is.
I mean, quality keeps getting better and a better product.
You know, the competition nowadays is fierce, you know, but it's just making the market better for the consumer. I mean, it's forcing us as manufacturers to come out with better product and more innovative product. Or, you know, in Brownells' case, they just go back to the beginning, and just come out with retro product. And so, you know,
we update the original. We make it better.
We should release some like Mitch Warbell designs, you know, with like eyelets in them and stuff. Oh. Those didn't work at all. They were terrible, but we're gonna do it. So we're not.
Hey, since you're with Gemtech, the Hush Puppy. I mean, Smith & Wesson.
Right.
Dude, that would be a retro.
Joey Harris with Gemtech.
Our boy
One
Joey.
of the very first questions he asked Smith is, hey, let's bring back the Hush Puppy. And remind me the host gun of that again. What was the host gun?
I believe the 39.
Yes. So we asked them and they said no.
No. Did they even know what the Hush Puppy was?
They did. They used to have one in their archives, and I think it was either the FBI or the ATF took it for their reference collection.
We need to build one.
We should. I mean, and you know, the other thing that Brownells and Gemtech should team up on would be a high standard.
Yes. I need
just say it. You know,
I've shot your high standard that Dr. Dater built.
That's if you Google it, Gemtech high standard, you'll see some pictures on the internet. It's pretty, you know, write some letters or something.
Yeah, it's stupid quiet.
We should get Paul in on that one.
Yeah, that
would
be awesome.
So
if you don't know what we're talking about, the high standard HD military. OSS World War II was developed for use by OSS.
Right. Yeah, the Alamo Scouts used them a lot. I mean, they were used by MACV in Vietnam.
Yeah.
It's basically an integrally suppressed. Your booth is haunted.
Yes.
No, it's an integrally suppressed high standard HD military, and used a wire mesh system for the Baffles. It wasn't actually Baffles. It was wire mesh, and it was almost a disposable silencer. And it was used by the OSS for various clandestine missions, things like that. But
Wild Bill Donovan walked in with one of those into Franklin Roosevelt's office.
That's right.
And had a sandbag on the floor and just went pop, pop like that. And Roosevelt said, "What just happened?"
Yep, that's right. And I believe they gave one to him.
Sure did.
As a gift. And I'm trying to think now. President Ford in '76, I think, put out executive order banning assassination weapons, and
yep.
so a lot of those were destroyed from the archives, because the CIA inherited them from the OSS,
yes.
and so you know, that executive order forced them to destroy a lot of the samples. Unfortunately, there are still some in the Infantry Museum in Fort Benning, Georgia. There's one next to a well rod, which is another really exciting product.
Well rod.
Well, not product now.
Yeah.
Exciting antique, I suppose.
Have you seen where B&T's going to be doing a domestically produced VP9, which is the shortened down well rod?
Veterinary Pistol 9. It's a single shot 9mm, integrally suppressed. The magazine is the grip. It's a pretty interesting concept. Well, it's not even a concept. It's a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. So
it's a real thing.
It is, but no, you know, what's fun for me being a Gemtech is looking at some of the history, some of the products that we made in the past, things like the pill bottle, which is I mean, it's a 22 suppressor about this big. The pill bottle is a suppressor that Dr. Dater and his buddies came up with. That's quite literally, it's meant to go on a keychain and hold your pills. And you know, Adam Kraut has one. He's the only civilian to have a pill bottle.
I feel hurt.
Sorry, man. You know, I can only do so much. But it's the pill bottle is basically a one-chamber suppressor with a wipe in the bottom. It's a 1/4-inch wipe. It's a very thick wipe, and they're good for about 50 rounds of 22. And you can pair it up with a Beretta 21A or a I'm trying to think, a threaded TPH.
Yes.
Have you ever see one of those?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Those
I've
are pretty.
one.
They're
neat.
I almost owned one once, but I didn't. Anyways, but yeah, I mean things like that. The LDE-9, the last ditch effort 9mm. It's a essentially a pin gun that Gemtech came up with years ago. And there's you can Google these things, the LDE-9, the pill bottle. You'll find articles on them. So I wrote a couple articles on them.
Breech Bang Clear.
Yeah, with Breech Bang Clear. So if you're interested in those, you know, but it's a fun business to be in with a great history, you know, and just watching it evolve, you know.
Oh yeah, it just keeps getting better.
It does,
yeah.
It does get better. So.
We went from screen wire up to baffles.
Right,
to
what boot eyelets?
Yeah,
I
boot
mean,
eyelets.
the thing's made leather. You know, French resistance guys would use stacks of leather, oil or not oil, wet leather basically as wipes for suppressors. I mean, you know, and then you get into helical free flow systems. You know, things like that. Suppressor design has come so far.
Yes.
And it's funny now, you know, you see things like K baffles and M baffles and, you know, monocores, and they're all similar, but they all have a purpose. Some are better at other things, and, you know, that's really cool to get to see manufacturers. You know, you look at a Sig Sauer suppressor, and I mean, you're talking a lot of baffles stacked up in there, very close, but it's creating a lot of volume, and in turn, it's creating a lot of surface area for the gases to react to and cool down. So, you know, whereas ours may have 3 baffles, you know, theirs could have, I don't know, like 19 or something like that.
Yeah,
so
that originated out of AAC.
AAC did a similar design. That's right. You know, and now you see it in other manufacturers. So pretty interesting concept. But we can talk about suppressors all day
long.
I don't know.
Yeah. What about the AR-10?
Yeah.
The suppressor that was originally on those.
You know,
big old beer can.
I was just talking to Paul about that, and he asked me, "You think you can make it?" And I told him no, but I don't think we could. You know, I don't know a lot about that. It was more like a moderator. I mean, the better one is the XM177.
So right down there.
You know, for those that aren't familiar, XM177s, the originals came with a 5.5-inch flash hider, so to speak, but it actually had a chamber inside. And the theory behind it, and correct me if I'm wrong, was to change the noise to make it sound unlike American guns.
Absolutely.
Essentially. You know, you want to mask that thing, and a suppressor does that great. It makes it sound like, you know, practically nothing. But and so you know, one of my early Gemtech days, I got a call from a dealer, and he's like, "Hey, I just bought a big lot, you know, boxes of stuff, and I think I found a real XM177 moderator." He's like, okay, what makes you say that? You know, send me some pictures. And he sent me pictures, and sure enough, it definitely was that. And he's like, "Can I send it to you? Can you engrave it?" And you know, unfortunately, the answer is no. The only thing.
Dr. Dater, please come here.
Come on,
folks. You have got a rare occasion right here, Mr. Dr. Phil Dater. How are you, sir?
Doing fine.
Come on over here. Sit. Have a seat.
I'll go ahead. I'm not staying long.
Okay. No. All right. Is he in frame a little bit? Can you see him?
Yep. Folks, this is Dr. Phil
So
Dater.
I don't
We've
know
got
how well you'll be
Gemtech
able to
started.
hear him, but this is we've been talking about you for the
Yes,
past
sir.
20
Lies,
minutes.
all of them.
Oh,
So, Dr. Dater,
over here.
Keith's getting him rigged up there, and we are live, just so you know. So I want to warn you about that.
Okay.
But
So I'm not supposed to say the 7 forbidden words,
right,
right?
right. Yeah, don't do that. Brownells will get in trouble for it, not us. But so, ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Phil Dater. As we've been talking about him this whole time, here he is. And so we were just talking about XM177 moderators, and you know, they're one chamber, and how we can't legally serialize them now. So if you want to expand on that in any way.
Well, you know, they did not reduce the sound of the 5.56 cartridge at all.
Mm-hmm.
They actually increased the time under pressure so that the weapon would cycle without making a larger gas port.
Mm-hmm.
The problem was they were standard half 28 threads. If you put them on a 22 pistol or a 22 rifle, rimfire gun, you'd get some fairly significant sound reduction out of it.
Okay.
So that was why they ended up being classified.
Oh, all right. Well, do you know when that happened?
I'm going to guess late 70s.
Okay, all right, all right. Yeah, we've been talking about Mitch Warbell designs, some of the boot eyelets and things like that. And you want to talk about those at all? I mean,
Well, in a lot of the Warbell's suppressors, he used his patent, and they were the spirals. Well, it turned out that they really didn't work very well, and we found with the submachine gun suppressors for the Ingrams that we'd pick up about 5 or 6 decibels increased performance by throwing away those spirals, sending them to the landfill where they belonged, and putting in simple fender washers that we dimpled a little bit, and spacers.
right. So
But he got a patent on it.
Oh, well, that says something. But so years and years ago, early in my suppressor career, I took a class from Dr. Dater, and we spent quite a bit of time actually talking about washers. You know, just a standard washer, and then the difference of having a flat washer and then dimpling it, like you said, bending it to make it more conical shape. And you know, I mean, off the top of your head, Dr. Dater, how big of a difference did that make?
You know, I don't think we ever actually measured that.
Okay.
But subjectively, it sounded a little bit better, and theoretically, it sounded a lot better because the gases were all flowing out sort of like this, and it made it easier to trap them and create some turbulence.
Sure. I mean, and I think one of my favorite portions from that class was, you know, Dr. Dater the man's been around, he's done a lot of great things, and so one of the things that he did was he tested a potato, he tested a pillow, a baby bottle nipple, 2-liter bottle, what am I missing?
Everything under the sun.
Just about, yeah. Legally, mind you.
We did a lot of that testing of improvised devices at the California State Crime Lab when I taught a class there. And they said, oh, let's try this. Let's try an oil filter. Oil filters worked actually pretty well, amazingly. The baby bottle nipple did not work at all. In fact, it made it a little bit louder.
There you go.
Potato on a Ruger pistol gave about 31, 32 decibels reduction. It was only good for one shot. But
that's right, and there's a great picture of a potato with a serial number engraved into it.
Oh, yes.
And it was a registered potato. Probably.
Well, I don't know if the crime lab registered it, but
well, that's on them, not on you. That's right. That's a CYA.
They were a government agency. So.
Exactly. So they do whatever they want, but that's a lot of fun. And so, Doc, you've also had the pleasure of going to the pattern room in the UK and seeing a lot of, real deal resistance suppressors that were made in machine shops during the war. So what was your favorite one? What's your favorite suppressor you've ever seen or made or whatever?
Most interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think some of the most interesting stuff that I've ever seen is the Soviet silent pistol cartridges.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
They are truly amazing. We've done high-speed video on them. We've done sound measurements. They're basically 32 caliber steel projectiles, and it's an amazing weapon. And it dates back to the mid-70s.
Right. Yep, the captive piston and things like that.
And we use similar stuff that was shotgun, and I think some of the 44 pistols were made captive piston cartridges in the trench, in the tunnels in Vietnam.
Right. Absolutely.
Tunnel rats usually.
Yeah, it's pretty wild stuff. I mean, you know, we've talked about the development of suppressor technology and the development of Gemtech, and here being, you know, a key member of suppressor design for the past, I don't know, forever.
45 years.
45 years, you know.
It started as a hobby, you know, wanting to shoot out streetlights, but that...
Of course it did.
We don't recommend.
Yeah, we don't recommend that unless, you know, serving a warrant or something, but no. And so, Dr. Dater, it's been very nice for you to stop by.
Thank you much, Alexander.
Thank you.
And
Thank
Keith.
you, Dr. Dater.
And
Thank
you need to
so
take your
much.
microphone
Yes,
back.
sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. Here, I'll grab that guy from you. So. All right.
Yes.
That was fun.
Never see
was,
that again,
That was
folks.
a luck
That
of the
is
draw right there.
Yes.
I tell you, Dr. Dater, amazing man. Done a ton for the firearms industry, small arms development. You know, yeah. I mean, if you pick up any of those suppressor history books or anything like that, you know, you can barely go a page without seeing the name Dr. Phil Dater.
Phil
so,
Dater.
yeah, that was fun. That was really lucky
cool.
for
That
us.
was
So.
timing was perfect.
It was, but you got anything else for me before we wrap it up, Keith?
Dude, I think that's about it. That,
All right.
that was the perfect.
That's a way to
perfect
really
way
end
to
on a
end
high
that.
note. If we'd have had Kel come in too, we'd
Oh,
have been hitting
dude,
them all.
that'd have been, yeah.
That'd have been a lot of fun. But maybe next time, you know. So,
Cool.
anyways, thanks for Brownells. Thank
Yes.
you for hosting
We
us
appreciate
and talking about cans with me. It's been a lot of fun. I'm excited for this
Enjoy.
retro line.
Dude.
You know, we should all write them and expand. Tell them to expand on it. You know, they need to grease guns and you know, some intricately suppressed M1 carbines would be
Carbines.
great. You know,
Yeah.
just intricately suppressed. All about them suppressors.
HD military.
HD
suppressed,
military would
yeah.
be great, you know. We
Hush
can,
puppy, you
Hush
know,
Pu-
you're
I'll
the
work
Smith
on,
& Wesson
I'll work that on
connection.
my end. I'll work that on my end. So,
All right.
you know, but you talk to him too.
Yeah, I will.
So.
I'll hit them up. Brother,
All
I
right.
appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
All right.
That's it, folks. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.